In this video, we'll be talking about our recent trip to Europe where we got engaged.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned in the previous video about the ring and all of that, we're going to be talking about how I was able to how I planned everything out. So let me just say that. How I planned everything out and was able to stay on budget while we were on our trip.
Hey wealth builders, it's Akeiva
And Meshack.
and welcome back to the Bemuse, where we talk about all things personal finance for young adults just like us.
It was an 8-day trip and we left from Boston and we went to London. We were there for 2 days. Then we went to Rome. We were there for a day, and then we were in Paris for 4 days.
Yep.
So 8-day trip, and we went to 3 countries. After the ring was purchased, what I did was I started looking into ways to get to Europe. Like we mentioned before, I live in Maryland and Akeiva lives in Boston. And I wanted to make sure that everything, as much as I could, was factored into that budget. So my travel to get from Maryland to Boston was included in all the spending. The tickets to get us from Boston to Europe for the both of us were included in my planning and all of that. Initially, I was just gonna go to Paris, but after doing many hours of searching for flights, I discovered that the flights to Paris were extremely outrageous. So what I did was I started to look into other alternatives, such as Groupon, Living Social, and other websites like that. Groupon had a really good package that was actually really affordable. It was, if I remember correctly, for $1,000 per person, and it included hotels and round-trip flights, and it was flying from Boston to London, and then it was leaving from Paris back to Boston. So the only thing that you had to figure out was how to get from London to Paris. So that kind of jogged my thinking, and I was like, let me look into this myself and see if I can build this package myself in a way that worked for us and what I thought was important and wanted to do. And the reason why I didn't go with the Groupon was because the hotels that they had, although most of them were nice, it was kind of like a lottery system. So they had 3 hotels for each of those countries, and of the 3 hotels, you didn't know which ones you were going to get. And there were one really nice one where it was like at some place that was almost $1,000 a night. Like, I don't know how that was going to work, but it was almost $1,000 a night at the hotel. The one in the middle was like maybe $300 depending on the day and night, and then the last one was like really crappy. It was like maybe $70-$80 a night, and I was just like, knowing them, we're gonna get the crappy one. So I did not want that. Like, I also wanted us to be safe when we were traveling abroad, and I didn't want to be at a hotel where we would be in a shady area or anything like that. So I was like, let me take the concept of Groupon, of traveling to one country and leaving from another one, and seeing what it's gonna do to the budget. And when I did that, I looked into what the cost would be from flying from Boston to London and then from Paris back to Boston, and it was really, really, really affordable. So I decided to go with that option, like Groupon suggested. I got my dates together of when I wanted the trip to be and got all of that situated, and it worked out really well. But then, again, just like Groupon, the issue was, how are we going to get from London to Paris? So I decided to look into a train. But then, after speaking to my cousin Courtney and about their experience in Europe when they went for their honeymoon, I said, well, if we're gonna be there for a week or a little bit over a week, I wanna get the most out of this trip as possible. So I decided to slip in Rome. But then, like I told Akeiva, I am geographically challenged. I had no idea where Europe was in the UK.
Wait, you have what? What did you just say?
I had no idea where Rome was in Europe. So initially I was thinking like, I can just take the train there and from London and then head back up to Paris, because I also didn't want to give it away, because if we were flying straight to Paris or whatever, she would have obviously known. So I didn't do that. So after doing some research, what I found was that it was cheaper to fly from London to Rome. And then, again, doing some research, found out that there was an overnight train that you could take from Rome to Paris. And the reason why I did it that way was kind of like going from here
to
down
there,
to here
to
and then
yeah,
back up.
Yeah.
But the reason why I did it was because if I did it in a different order, like if I flew to Rome and then went to Paris and then went to London and then flew, it would have cost more money. So that's why I did it in the order that I did. And although I'm not going to share like all the details and all the numbers, I can say that for like each of our individual flight tickets, I didn't spend $400 round trip for the tickets, for the flights. Now, when you add in what I paid for the trains, that was combined about another 150 bucks. So on like round trip travel for all the places that we needed to go in those different areas, it was, I would say, like rounding up, probably like about $450 per person, including the train, which I don't think was that bad, but that's because I chose to go to Rome. If I didn't go to Rome, it would have been a lot cheaper, because the train from London to Paris, it was like maybe a 3 or 4 hour ride. It wasn't that long and it was really inexpensive. So that wrapped up the travel section for our trip. Then the next most important thing, at least to me, was hotels and lodging. So I knew that I wanted us to stay in some place that was safe and some place that was nice. So I did a lot of research for this.
I believe it.
For this part, like it was honestly like a little bit not tedious, because I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah. Once he starts going down the rabbit hole of the thing he's focused on, there's no pulling him back out.
But what I ended up using to book our hotel for London was Expedia. And on Expedia, I was able to get our hotel, and I was actually able to get the hotel, and a hotel that I could cancel up to 24 hours before, which to me was really important, because what if something happened? What if she got sick? What if I got sick? What if we weren't able to take the trip for whatever reason? At least I knew that I could get my money back if I needed to. So I booked with Expedia, and I did have to pay up front though. So I paid the cost of the hotel up front, which I had the money. Then the next thing was trying to find a hotel for Paris. That hotel was the most difficult, because I wanted to stay in Paris, but after doing some research, I couldn't afford to stay in Paris. It was like, well, like when I say Paris, I mean like by the Eiffel Tower. That's what I mean by in Paris. So we weren't in Paris, we were in Avenue Clichy or whatever. Yeah,
Clichy
Avenue, whatever.
Paris. We were in Paris.
We were in Paris by the 17th Avenue, whatever the areas that they call them are. So we were about maybe driving 15 minutes into center, so we weren't far. But I wanted to stay at some place that was safe, at least by my standards. And I wanted to stay someplace where it had some things that we're accustomed to having, such as continental breakfast and things like that, because that would also help to reduce the cost of buying food each day. Because we're on vacation, so we're not cooking anything. So I was able to get a room at the Hampton by Hilton in Clichy. And again, I was able to purchase the room in advance, and because I have a Hilton Honors account, I was able to get the room for slightly cheaper. And because I have a Hilton Honors account, I was also able to book the room, although I had to pay for it in advance. I had the option to cancel the room up to a day before, 24 hours before. So with both of the hotels, like the only thing that I was really locked into was the travel. Because you only have 24 hours, you know, to get refunds for your flights, and for the train tickets, that was pretty much shot. So those two items were the biggest things. And like I said, at that point, the ring was already purchased. So the three big items that I was really focused on were already, you know, done and paid for. Something else that I'll add that I found, and I mentioned in previous videos before, was Ebates, which is now called Rakuten, or known as Rakuten, or whatever, however you pronounce it. All of the places that I purchased, whether it be lodging or whatever, and even the ring, I was able to get cash back. So when I went to Hallsberg, and bought Hallsberg, and I purchased the wedding band and set, there was a promotion on Rakuten, I think it's still going on, where when you link your credit or debit card to your account online, all you had to do was go into the store, and once you swipe your card, it registered and you got cash back. And at the time when I purchased the rings, I believe it was something like really good, like 5% cash back. So I was able to get 5% cash back on the ring, in addition to, like I mentioned in the previous video, getting the price down a little bit more and not paying for a few things. I got 5% back on that purchase. So that was just money that kind of went back into that budget that I was able to spend if need be, if not save. Hopefully saving was the ultimate goal, but if I had to spend it, at least I knew that I was still kind of keeping on budget. So I got that. Then for Expedia was also offering 5% cash back for the hotels at that time. So I was able to get 5% cash back for the hotel, but I had to wait until after the stay. So now that we got back, I'm gonna be checking my account periodically to make sure that that registers on my account, because I'm gonna get 5% cash back for the hotel stay in London. Then Hilton is also a part of that promotion where you can get cash back. So on the money that I spent for booking the Hilton room when we were in Paris, that I believe it was 2.5% cash back. So I'm getting 2.5% cash back for that transaction.
This is on top of any credit card reward.
Exactly, and I was gonna get to that. And that's not even any of the rewards that I'm getting from my credit cards, which I put all of these transactions on. And because hotel and Expedia and all of those travel related things are coded as travel on my Chase Sapphire Reserve
your Chase Sapphire Reserve has been on
I'm getting
heavy rotation lately.
3 times points on all of these things, and these were like, being honest, like I spent a lot of money on the hotels because I wanted them to be someplace nice, and I think we can both agree that
really
the hotels were really, really nice. We didn't really feel unsafe until like maybe one point, but that was probably just our nerves at one of the hotels. But outside of that, it was great. At the hotel in London, we didn't have breakfast, but that was okay because we were only there for 2 days. But in Paris, where we were there for the longest time, for 4 or 5 days, that's where we had continental breakfast there every morning, and we were able to get up, go and get breakfast each day, no problems, no issues. So we didn't spend any money on that. We just spent money on dinner and lunch and snacks throughout the day if we wanted to. So that was amazing. And like I said, the cashback opportunities that I was able to get through Rakuten, in addition to the points and stuff from my credit card, like it was just great. Then the next thing was activities, because we're going on this trip, and although the end goal was to propose, you know, we got to do stuff while we're there.